Hi, and welcome to Lutherans Alive. This is the program that seeks to tell the story of Lutheran Christians and their ministries here in southwestern Pennsylvania and all the wonderful things that God is doing through us. I'm Pastor Tony Schneck. We're pleased that you joined us today, and with me here today are Pastor Beth Seifert and Pastor John Grope. And Pastor Seifert and Pastor Grope happen to serve in a unique ministry setting called Pittsburgh Lutheran United Ministries, or PLUM for short. Mm-hmm. Tell us about the communities in which you serve as a part of Pittsburgh Lutheran United Ministries.
This cooperative ministry began with 3 congregations, one in East Liberty, Pittsburgh, one in East Carnegie, Pittsburgh, and then Duquesne. It began as a ministry that would provide pastoral leadership, pastoral ministry to congregations that were struggling to provide for a single full-time pastor. That model began with those 3 congregations. We sort of dove in, did not have anything structurally set up as we began. We decided we'd work it out as we went. And it was always designed to be a model that would grow and develop to help all the small congregations in our synod that are struggling to do vital ministry, but having problems providing the resources in order to do that. It's a cooperative ministry that cooperates in terms of providing pastoral ministry, not cooperative programming. So that each congregation can maintain its integrity and each congregation can be relieved of a lot of the stress and strain of trying to come up with resources for a full-time pastor and redirect those the resources they have into doing mission and outreach, their ministries and their communities.
And how long has this been going on, did you say? You say you started with 3 congregations?
In 2004.
2004.
And before too long, we had other congregations showing an interest in coming on board. We developed articles of agreement. We developed a model for how the congregations would pay into a pastoral ministry fund to cover the team ministry. And other congregations started showing interest. We had Trinity Mount Oliver join us, Bethlehem in Allentown, Bethlehem Lutheran in Allentown. Then we had Trinity Lutheran in Sheridan join us just last year, and they came in for a trial year, which is our policy, that a congregation can come on board and try us out, see how it works. And then if all goes well and they want to become a permanent part of PLUM, then they vote to call us as their pastors. And Trinity Sheridan is the last congregation to do that. And just last month, Bethany Lutheran Church in Dormont voted to come on for a trial year. So we're now up to 7 congregations. And our team has grown as well. We have a student minister, a student intern, Melba Dibble, who's a part of our team. She's been working with us for a year and will be with us for another year as she prepares for the ordained ministry. And then we also have just had an interim pastor join us. The Reverend Paul Koch is going to be a part of our pastoral team so that we can provide worship each Sunday for each of those congregations, and then work together as a team to provide for the other pastoral needs.
It seems to me this must have been a drastic change from perhaps those days when you began serving in the ministry. Were there days when you simply served a single congregation or maybe a 2-point parish, and then now this has grown? Or even since the days when the Pittsburgh Lutheran United Ministries began with just 3 congregations, how has that been? How have you managed to have that ministry grow and continue to serve. How's that going?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's out of our histories is I'd started as a pastor up in Indiana County with AIJ, Armstrong, Indiana, Jefferson County Ministries back in the mid-'70s. And that was a cooperative ministry. It started off as 22 congregations over 3 counties, really 4 counties, went from Du Bois to Johnstown to Kittanning to Avonmore. So it was a huge territory over the 3 counties. And then I took the call to come to Pittsburgh, and Pastor Beth and I she started in the beginning of the 80s, 1980 I believe it was, and I started in 81 in our collective calls. And we'd served there for 20 years, over 20 plus years in our individual calls, and worked together on different projects within the city of Pittsburgh and the ministries that were there. But what we were looking at is we were seeing that our congregations, because of the economics and the decline of the whole metroplex, Pittsburgh metropolitan area, that the likelihood that our congregations were going to outlive us was getting slimmer and slimmer. That with the congregations were just getting to the point where to call another pastor was going to become very difficult. To look out there and see a future in the mill towns and in our valley churches was just becoming less and less likely. And so we started talking about how do we develop a ministry that's going to outlive us, that's going to continue after we're gone. And then Pastor Beth came up and talked to me one time about East Liberty Lutheran Church, had then gone vacant, and was a church that really was in a community that was unique. The ministry was unique. It was one of the few truly integrated congregations in the city of Pittsburgh. And to go through a vacancy study and all those details that they would never be able to come up because the market had crashed, their income was down, the turmoil that was going on inside the community, inside the congregation. And so we said, well, let's just try it. And the 3 of us then decided to get together, and we asked our congregations to just take a leap of faith and just join us, just become part of us. And the congregations, some internal struggling after having a pastor for 20 plus years, all their own, and those kinds of things, went through what all congregations were going through. And we turned it around and said, well, let's just try this, and we'll build the structure out of what we see the needs of our congregations as being. And then we began that, and other congregations were curious, but we were really truly new. But we knew that we couldn't just do a ministry that just merges congregations or just joins congregations, because we've not talked to many pastors that are satisfied serving multiple parishes. Can just make multiple parish ministries where they're serving 2 congregations, then you have 2 church councils, I listen to pastors complain about church council meetings or Christian ed meetings. Try 7 of them. Then you can talk to us about the dilemmas of that. But whenever you have a staff, you can actually go on vacation. You can actually take time off for your family. You can actually, and so Pastor Beth and I, whenever we said, let's try this as a staff and make the details work out, and we'll work out the problems, then it becomes an opportunity to support each other and care for each other. Then you get to know a whole bunch of different people. And so that's the direction that we've headed in, is just putting together a staff ministry that's able to support each other in their unique ministry areas. We bring different skills, and the congregations are able to see and experience whole different ministry styles and opportunities. Pastor Beth's congregation never knew a male in the pulpit other than the occasional sublime. Christ Duquesne never knew a female in the pulpit other than, I'd been there, she'd been there. And what it does is just give a real flavor across the board for the ministry doing. So that's part of the history. We just sat back and said, boy, there's a real need out there for something creative. And our whole communities up and down the mill towns and the mill areas they're all in demise. And so we just sat back and said, how do we address this, and where do we go from there?
Great. We're going to have more conversation about Lutherans cooperating with each other in the city after we take a short break.